That's why she got her tan, girl. You
did my spray tan about an hour ago.
You look fantastic.
Can't wait to wash it off because I smell like this.
When I went to the NLC, I got trapped there for 2 extra days because of the snow. It snowed at home and I couldn't get home.
I remember that.
And myself and Jen Holdman. Now, Jen Holdman was a teacher. She had called in sick to go, and she was like a nervous wreck to begin with. And then we got trapped there, and she was like shaking. I remember we went out to lunch, and I was just feeding her mojitos. I'm like, just have another one, just have another one. And she was calling her principal while she was like tipsy. She's like, I don't think I'm coming back. I'm really sick. Like, we got trapped there, and then we just made the best of it. We went for a bike tour in Muscle Beach where Tony Horton works out. And then we went on the Hollywood Hills tour where we're in like the open Jeep and you saw all the famous people's houses. It was so fun. It was one of the best experiences ever. So you're going to love it.
I'm very excited.
That's awesome. Devin, you're so deserving. Like, I am so proud of you.
I'm only here because of you and the ladies on this call. That's the only reason why I'm going. So I will represent you all very well and bring back anything and everything that I learned to hopefully help you guys too. So
awesome. Well, we're excited for you. So with that, that's a high vibe to be starting on, y'all. We have a really good call for you tonight. We have an amazing woman who's going to speak to you. But before we get to that, I want to give some shout outs with some recognition really quickly. The leadership ladder. So, at the end of the month, we recognize for all kinds of things. And one of those things is the leadership ladder. And there's a ton of training in the back office if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you can ask us and we'll explain it to you. So for team leaders, actually, and I'm going to recognize you too, Kristen, since you're on the call with us. Team leaders, Kristen and Devin. So Kristen Atkins and Devin Wheaton. We have team builders. That would be myself. And team business starters would be Kristen Otis. Is that how you say her last name? Kristen Otis, Tyann Sanchez, and Patricia Ferris. So way to go. Way to go, ladies. So super proud of you. So, yeah. And Trisha signed up her first coach today. So shout out for that.
Hey.
Awesome. So tonight we have Kristen is going to be talking to us, and it's a perfect time to have her because, last week we heard Dave's story, and so now we're going to get to see the other half and hear her perspective, which I think is going to be maybe a little surprising for some of you who haven't heard her story. So make sure you listen up. So to give her credit where credit is due for all of her hard work, she is a lifetime 6-star diamond, a Success Club All-Star, a team leader, and even a summit speaker, which, that's like the Grammys of Team Beachbody. She was a summit speaker, and it was an amazing session because I went to it. It was awesome. But most importantly, when we take all those shiny objects and we put those to the side and we say, okay, well, who is Kristen? She is a giver, she is a lover, she is a hustler, and she is a woman hell-bent on giving people an opportunity to rise up and to become empowered. And this little coaching opportunity thing that she got herself into was the key to bringing her home to her 3 beautiful girls, Cassidy, Sadie, and Addie, who is lovingly called Tank. It gave her the opportunity to step away from her teaching job and be home with her kids. So with that said, Kristen, the floor is yours.
Hey guys, how are you? I'm really, really honored to be here. And I am so proud of Melanie and Devin for the leadership roles that they have stepped into. And I mean, they've been around with me for a few years now, and to see all of you on this call and what they've created, you are so blessed and you are in such amazing hands. And I see all your names coming up and I'm like, this is it. Like, this is the new team. Like we had a new team when I first started as a coach, and a lot of those people have faded and kind of gone off in the background, but like this is the new and upcoming team, and we're doing things right. We're doing things different, and we're doing things in ways that is going to be sustainable. We've learned a lot over the years, and I feel like it's just all coming together now, So I've been a coach so just shout out to Melanie and Devin because they're awesome. And you guys are all awesome. And thank you for letting me speak on your call. I think that is amazing that you want to have me on. And I just love to connect with the other ladies. And I see a man on there. I see it must be a hubby. Nice to meet you guys. Really just to connect with you and share my story, which I got to be honest, I haven't told my story in a while. So this morning I was trying to think back and kind of like all these little tidbits were like popping back in my head because it's been a while. Dave's been a coach since 2011 and he really didn't start working the business till 2012, 2013. And he was the one, like he made me do P90X. Like I had gained 50 pounds of baby weight with my first daughter. Actually, I did it 2 times after as well. You would have thought by the third I would have learned my lesson, but no. So I had gained 50 pounds. I was absolutely miserable. I was a girl that struggled with my weight pretty much my whole life. My mother was an aerobics teacher when I was a little girl, and she, like Jane Fonda, like thong up the butt, like leggings, like bright lycra. And I used to say, I want to be just like my mom when I grow up. And the thing about my mom was that she worked out to be able to eat. She loved her steak and potatoes. So my whole life was watching her in extremes. And as I got a little older, my dad came home one day and said, I bought a deli and you're going to run it to my mother. And my mother's like, I don't know anything about a deli. So she stopped exercising and took over a deli and gained like all this weight. So that was from when I was 14 on. And my life had been a yo-yo of diets and struggling and Weight Watchers and not knowing what healthy looked like. So I struggled for most of my life with identity and negative self-esteem, negative self-talk, comparing myself to everybody around me. And it was such a struggle. So after I had gained the 50 pounds with Cassidy, I lost myself completely. I was just probably at my all-time low. I remember looking in the mirror and just saying, I guess this is just how I'm going to be. Like, this is it, you know? And that was easier for me to do. And Dave's like, we're going to do something called P90X. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. He puts the first video on they were doing push-ups and pull-ups. And I'm like, over 200 pounds. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're freaking kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. He's like, let's do it. I did it. I ended up losing a lot of weight. I think I lost like 15 pounds in the first couple months. And then from there, like we were believers in the products. We started buying Shakeology. And then Dave had heard about the coaching thing. So he became a coach for the discount because we were buying 2 bags of Shakeology a month. And at that time, we had my daughter in daycare. I was a school teacher. You know, he was with the state police. And we were living paycheck to paycheck. So we were exercising, feeling good. And he started to hear about this coaching thing. And he's like, I think I'm going to try this. And I wanted nothing to do with it, right? Like I'm a new mom. Actually, I think I had Sadie at this point. I was like a new mom. I'm a teacher. I get home. I'm exhausted at night. I wanted to just sit, and I always joke, and just watch Real Housewives of Orange County. Like that was my jam. I was a Bravo girl, you know, and that's all I wanted to do. I didn't know there was more to life than mediocre, than 9 to 5. I really didn't. I didn't know any better. My parents were always like, you know, we always survived, you know, we didn't have more than we needed, but like it was all status quo my whole life. I was never really pushed. So being married to somebody like Dave, who's the complete opposite, you know, he was always very, very driven, and whatever he set his mind to, he made happen. So, and he also has, and I'm sure he didn't share this on the call, but he has a very OCD personality. When he gets into something, he's like all in. So as you can imagine, he's a new coach learning, you know, all about this business on social media. I was not on social media. I refused to go on Facebook at the time. And he was like literally walking around with his phone like this, like crashing into walls. And this was going on for months, you know, just trying to help people, but we weren't making any money from it. And I didn't see anything coming out of it except that he was completely absent from our life, like completely, like gone. Like, what the hell is this Beachbody thing doing to you? And I got very resentful, and we fought about it, and I did not understand. I didn't see the big picture, but he did. Hold on one second. I'm just drinking some water. So fast forward, we used to fight a lot. He sat me down one day and he said, Chris, I think this can change our life. I feel like I've seen what it's doing for other people, and we have to get out of our situation. We cannot live like this anymore. I think this is our answer. And I so badly wanted to believe him, but I didn't. So I just said, okay, babe, you're right. And he's like, what can I do to make this work? So silently, I didn't believe him, but I knew how driven he was. And I'm like, I just got to let him go. I can't stop this guy, but we had to come up with some compromises in order to make our life work, because he was completely, was working full time, and then he'd come home and be doing Beachbody all night, and we didn't see him. So, it turned out where he said, when are good times for me to work my Beachbody business? I'll figure it out. And then we worked out a little schedule where I knew he was going to be working on Beachbody time, but then he would shut down and be with our family. And that was working. So fast forward a little bit, he kept saying he was running challenge groups at the time by himself. I didn't know anything about challenge groups, but he wanted me to come to Summit with him. Right. So this was, I think it was 2013 in June. And I said, fine. It was in Vegas. I said, fine, let's go. I'll just hang out. We'll go out and it'll be like a trip for me. I could care less about the Beachbody stuff, but fine. So I ended up leaving school a little early. It was at the end of June to meet him there, because he left on a Wednesday and I met him there like Friday. I remember walking into the big arena in Vegas. We were at the MGM and seeing these like amazing people just walk across the stage and get this recognition, and their accolades and how much money they were making and all these stars that they were. I didn't even know what star was, star diamond. I didn't know what any of it was, but it opened my eyes to like, holy crap, what is this? Like, this is bigger than I thought. In fact, I didn't even know what I thought. But being there and feeling the energy and doing the live workout with Shaun T, it turned something on inside of me where I was like, I believe him. Like, and I said to Dave, what's the difference between those people up on the stage and you? And he's like, it's just they've been doing this longer than me. That's it. There's no difference. So that's when the light switch turned on for me. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I really thought we were onto something. I started to back him more. Being at that live event was my light bulb moment. So we came home and he said, why don't you do a challenge group? That's when T25 was just being released. It was the hottest new program. Shaun T was so on fire. Everybody loved Shaun T. And that was my first challenge group. And there was 17 of us. And those were basically all the coaches on Team Perseverance back then. And we were all doing T25, and it was freaking amazing. I remember waking up each day, checking my phone. Oh, that's also when I went on Facebook. When the airport on the way home from Vegas, we were sitting down and he's like, you got to get on Facebook. I'm like, all right, fine. And that's when I went on social media. But before that, I wanted nothing to do with it. So we did our first challenge group, all doing T25. The first thing I did every day when I got up was check in with the group. And everybody was getting great results. And I had 2 friends that joined me. I wouldn't even say I called them challengers. I just were like, do this with me. Like, I'm going to do this. Let's do it together. And it was so nonchalant and it was so fun and it was so light. I just started working the business. Like it was natural. I started getting great results with T25 and then just sharing it with people. And every month I was hitting Success Club and I was working from my bed. And that's why I'm actually doing this call in my bed right now, because this is where my business began, right here in my bed. And that's why I kind of sat here for this. I usually sit in the kitchen, but I wanted to come back to where it began because it was just so part-time and it was something that I was so passionate and excited about every day. You know, I'd get home from work, I'd be with the kids. We did struggle with, you know, trying to stay off our phones because we were both really excited at the time, but we had to work around it and create a schedule that worked. And really what that looked like was when the kids went to bed, we were working. Like there was no more Bravo. I missed my Real Housewives. But it was like we're giving up something to make this happen. And that's kind of how it started. And I didn't even go into it planning on anything coming out of it. It just started with me just loving it. And that's how we train all of our coaches to be, right? Because if you don't love this, if you're not a true believer in this, there's going to be nothing to motivate you to keep going, right? So then as we went to more and more events, I started seeing other people that were teachers and lawyers, and they were leaving their full-time careers to be coaches. And I'm like, whoa, they're making enough money to replace their income so they could leave and be home with their kids? Like I wanted to be at home with my kids. I was working as a teacher with some really nasty people. Now keep in mind, I'm a coach at this time, right? And the negativity that I faced when I was a teacher was insane, you guys. Insane. I mean, I was called the food Nazi. I was made fun of behind my back. I once asked like a bunch of people all at once in a group message, don't ever do this. You know, who wants to do a challenge group with me? Let's be so fun for all of us to do it together. And one by one, they all were like, nope, no thanks. I'm good. How dare you ask me to do your group? Like it was so bad, where I would come home crying and Dave would be like, you just got to just read your personal development, go back in, you know, and my salvation was our coaches, because these were people that I wanted to be around, right? These were people that were doing more with their lives. And the more personal development I read, the more negative these people started to look in my head. Like every time I'd see them, I'd be like, ooh, I feel bad for that person. They're so negative. They're so nasty, like terrible. That's when I started to dream. And that's when I started to see that I could do more in my life and that mediocre just wasn't cutting it anymore. I started to think like, I want more in my life. And I never knew to dream. I never knew what that was like. But Dave was doing it, so it leveled me up to do it. So at some point, I started to say, I want to leave this job. I was not happy. I love the kids, but there was so much more. And not being able to go to summit trips or having to call in sick, like the NLC, not the NLC. There was another trip. With the Success Club trips, I had to either tell my principal or lie about it. I was trapped. I didn't feel free. I wanted to feel free. So what happened was my goal, my dream became to leave my job, right? Like that was a big goal. We had to have X, Y, and Z in place for that to happen. And we had talked about it. And every time somebody said negative things about me at work, or every time they would make fun of me for doing my workouts at home or said anything, I was driven even more to work harder to leave that job, because that is not what I wanted my life to look like. And PD really opened up my mind to so much more. I mean, it really, truly is the secret sauce. So, fast forward, we had our plan in place. Dave and I had talked about me leaving my job, and it was probably going to be in January or June of 2015. I think it was 2015. But we weren't ready yet. So, sorry guys, my mouth dried out. So Dave wanted to go see, do you guys know who Eric Thomas is? E.T., the hip hop preacher. He's a motivational speaker. You can look him up. Just look up hip hop preacher. And Dave really had followed him for years. He's really like in your face, but really amazing. So he was coming to New York to speak. And Dave was like, we have to go see E.T. We have to. So lo and behold, we get our tickets. We go. We're running late. It's raining. The babysitter's late. It was one of those things like where we're fighting on the way there. And I'm like, we shouldn't have done this. This is crazy. we're running to this campus in Brooklyn, right? This is in Brooklyn, running to this campus because we're late. We grabbed a slice of pizza, shoving pizza in our mouth. And I'm like, they're going to close the doors. We're not going to get in. All of a sudden, we're running down this corridor. Nobody is there. Nobody's around. And a side door opens and Eric Thomas comes out, right? It's just me, Dave, and E.T. And we're like, whoa. Like, and Eric's like, hey, man, how you doing? Dave actually went to Chicago a few months earlier and got to meet him. And Eric Thomas remembered Dave. He goes, you were in Chicago. And Dave's like, yeah. He goes, this is my wife, Kristen. He takes my hand and he gets down on his knee and he's like, nice to meet you. Like, gets down on his knee. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, crazy. So crazy. If we weren't running late, we wouldn't have met him, right? So we walk in feeling like almost like this like spiritual thing. Like, holy crap, I can't believe this just happened. He starts talking and the whole thing is to me. He's talking to me. Nobody else around me. He's talking to me. And he's talking about how when you go to like a circus, right? And there's the tightrope walkers up high, and they're on this tiny little tightrope. And he said some circuses, you know, have the net at the bottom, right? Or they're like attached to a rope. And when you see that, you're like, woo, it's scary. But like, okay, if the guy falls, he's going to fall into a net, or he has the rope attached to him, right? It's not a big deal. But he's like, then there's some of those circuses where they have nothing underneath them, right? And that's scary as hell, but they take the chance anyway, doing it to you know, feel that rush and that freedom, right? And he's like, you know, you need to let go of the rope that's holding you back from the person you want to be. And I'm like, oh my God, he's talking to me. Like, I need to let go of my rope. We left that night. We get in the car and I said, Dave, I'm leaving my job. I'm leaving my job. I'm not going back. Because this was in the summertime. This was in July. And I was supposed to go back in September. And he's like, what? And I said, no, I'm not going back. I said, this job is holding me back. I can't be the coach I want to be. I feel in my heart that I can do this. And I love this. And I know I can do this. And so we figured it out, and I went into my principal's office on a beautiful day in August. I had the music blasting, and I was driving down the driveway, and I had pictured that moment probably 3 million times, almost every day. I pictured that moment when I was driving in to tell her I'm not coming back. All right, and it was almost as vivid as it, like how it happened was almost how I pictured it in my head, which was crazy. So that's why when you hear about like people really using visualization and like really moving towards your dreams and your goals, like it works. You have to work for it, but it works. So that was like really kind of where it all began, where I left, and then I became Kristen, the full-time coach, not the teacher anymore. So it's kind of gone from there. And I love what we get to do, and I've learned so much along the way, and we've had our ebbs and flows. We had a really rough year last year, but I know in my heart of hearts, there is nothing like this business, that this has created like dream lives for people. And you know, you have to say to yourself, like, why not me? Not why me, like why me? It's why not me? You know, and because Dave and I both think like that, we are willing to show up every day, even when we get punched, knocked down, even when, you know, things are wrong with the team or things are wrong in life, right? Because life happens. My mom died. Like, we've had so many things happen. We never stopped. And that's the secret. You cannot stop when it gets hard. And all of the people who were with us once that are not here anymore all stopped because it got hard. All right. And nobody truly successful in their life has ever gotten to success by just stopping. So that's really kind of like my story and kind of how it evolved. And for me, it was just a part-time thing from my bed at night when the kids went to bed. And it was fun and it was light and I didn't take it too seriously. And, you know, I always joke, but like I didn't even look at the back office for a good 6 months when I was a new coach. I didn't want anything to do with the administrative stuff. I was just like, I just want to help people. Like the challenge groups, that was where I had my most fun. And that's all I cared about. I would look in the back office to see if like somebody bought their challenge pack, but I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the back office volume. What the hell was that? But that's why I think I grew so organically, because I didn't take anything too seriously. I just had fun with it, and I let it kind of evolve from there. And that's more or less it. Did I answer it? Is that good?
So good. Do you want to say something, Devin?
Kristen, that's awesome. That's so cool. I never knew that happened with ET.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Wow.
Yeah, he's amazing. He really is like a good guy. And you remember Dave, and it was like, and he bowed down to me. Like, you guys have to go check him out if you don't know who he is. I mean, well, and if you ever have a chance to see him live, ooh.
Well, you've always told me from the beginning, every time I would get on a call with you and I would be like, I don't know, like this and that. And the first thing you would say to me is, how's your personal development? Are you reading your personal development? Are you reading your personal development every single time? And I think as a new coach, it takes a while to kind of get your mind in that space to want to grow on that level, because you're so focused on your physical transformation. But once you do, and you do commit the time to personal development, everything changes. And that's when I started. You said it's the secret sauce. You always told me that. You're like, it's the secret sauce. If people only knew that these books and these mentors can do this much for you, everybody would be reading these self-help books and going to, it's like, but so it's so important. Yes, it's a very important part of what we do.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's the secret sauce. The secret sauce.
It is the secret sauce. I swear. I remember just being like, how did more people not read this stuff? Like, what the heck is wrong with people? They're reading like smut, and they're watching junky TV. Like, oh my God, fill your mind with good stuff, like follow people who have what you want and do what they do.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's my story. And, it didn't start off all peaches and cream. And everybody always thinks that Dave and I are like this power couple. And it was not the case. Like, we really struggled in the beginning, and I was not on board with Beachbody. And it's usually the opposite. Usually it's more female-dominated coaches, right? And the hubby's not on board, or they're not understanding, what is my wife doing? And they're not seeing the return on it right away. And it does take time. I know, I see him shaking his head. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know his name.
Micah.
Micah. Yeah, it takes time. Like, these network marketing businesses do take time. But at the end of the day, if you're not supporting your wife who's doing something good for herself, like at the end of the day, let's say if her business fails, but she gets in phenomenal shape and she's confident and she's happy and she has energy and, looks good naked. Hello, men. What are you going to complain about that? If nothing else. But from there, like supporting her and saying you're doing a good job, or what can I do to help? Whether it's wash the dishes or help watch the kids so she can work her business for an hour a day. But as long as she knows, like, she has her Beachbody time and then it's family time, like, it's doable. It's so doable. I think it's just all about communication and explaining why you want to do this and what it's doing for you. And, giving back and helping other people and making money for doing it, it can't be a bad thing. It cannot be a bad thing. We're only doing good things in the world with this business. So it's just a matter of communicating. And if anything else, it's just a matter of being consistent with it and kind of riding it out. A lot of times the spouses they just keep going with their business. And I think, Melanie, you probably experienced this too with Richard a little bit. Like, you just have to keep going, right? Because it's, at the end of the day, and this is what ET said too. ET said, like, one woman was like, my family's not on board with my business. They fight me and they tell me I shouldn't be doing it. And he said, well, whose dream is it? And she's like, well, it's my dream. And he's like, yeah, they don't have to agree with it because it's your dream. It's not their dream. So at the end of the day, like, if your spouse is telling you not to do something that you're passionate about, shame on them. Because if the roles are reversed, hopefully the female or the male is supportive of their spouse and the things that they enjoy doing, right? It's the same thing as if your husband goes out and he likes to hunt, right? And the wife is like, ew, that's gross. I don't want you to hunt, but it makes you happy. You like to do it. Or fantasy football, you do that with your friends and it makes you happy. It's something that you enjoy doing. Support it, right? Mm-hmm. So that way you get the same support back. That's a relationship. That's communication. And that's how a relationship should be.
Well, Kira hit the jackpot with Micah because they are all in together. They they get it. They have a vision. They understand what it takes, and they're very supportive of one another. But I've actually struggled with that, throughout my career as a coach, with my spouse, even though he's super cool and awesome, but he definitely has given me a hard time at points, but it does come down to communication and managing your time in a reasonable way, because I can be in front of my phone constantly, and I have a bad habit of that just because I love it. Like, this is the only thing I've ever done where I actually look forward to checking in with everybody and scrolling and seeing how everybody's doing. Like, I get excited about it. And when you're that excited, like you said, it's hard to kind of pull yourself away from it. But
I know.
Yeah. But,
and Devin, just to make a point, Tom's eyes were opened up at the Success Club trip last year.
The Success Club trip. Yes. It's hard when you have this community and this connection and to all these people, and you're getting so much from it, and they're not. All they see is kind of from an outside perspective. When they do finally see it, like what happened to you, it opens their eyes. And so I'm very thankful for him nowadays. But does anybody have any questions for Kristen? Do you guys want to ask her anything while we have her held captive on our call?
Ask me anything. No?
Anyone?
I have to say, I remember Kristen doing her video after she resigned, because in Ohio, we go back to school super early compared to them. And I was in my classroom actually prepping my classroom for school, and I just bawled. I joined as a coach in late June, so this would have been August, so it was just a few months later, and I just cried and cried because I was like, I want to do that. My daughter was like 9 months old at the time, and I just remember, and I remember when you went to the New Leaders Conference, and there was this picture of you like on the I don't know what it was, like a concrete thing, and I always like jokingly was saying like, I'm gonna print that out and put my face on it. I never did, but I was just like, if she can do it, that means I can do it. And that's what you've always taught us. Like, guys, because I'm doing this, it means that you can too. So I appreciate you teaching us that, because that helped me to have that belief mindset as well.
And look at you now.
I know.
Look what you are. I mean, you never know. You never know which way your life is going to go. You really don't. You really, really don't. But this can just create so many opportunities, and it really can it just changed my life in so many amazing ways. I can't even imagine if I was still working. Like, I can't. I just, this fills your cup every day. And this is something that it's not hard, but it is hard to stay consistent. So having like this type of support right here is probably the secret sauce besides your PD. Is this. It's having that support system where you really can't shut down, because you have people on top of you all the time in a good way, where you're checking in with each other, and this is what's going to keep you going. Time's going to pass anyway. So make the best of it and make sure you're doing the tasks that move your business forward every day. And honestly, in my opinion, it's talking to people every day. Every day, talking to people. The more people you talk to, the more fish swim in your pond, the more people you have always coming to you for help month after month after month. And I'll admit, some months are super hard if I've lacked talking to people or expanding my network. But this STEM social thing, amazing. I hope you're all doing it. If you're not, you got to get on that wagon. I already have like 4 or 5 people who are ready to get challenge packs between me and Dave from STEM social. And we've only been doing it a month, right? A month or so. Yeah. So it's just putting yourself out there, sharing your journey, and I mean, like really, we like fitness is our business. This is what we get paid to do, is just work on ourselves and share that. Nothing better, in my opinion. Nothing better. That's it.
Can I ask you a quick question about STEM Social?
Of course.
I feel, and this just might be me, but I've always had like a very private Facebook, very private Instagram with just people that I am close with. And I opened it up yesterday to be public. I have all these people like commenting on my stuff. And it kind of makes me uncomfortable that like my daughter's on there and that kind of thing. Do you have any, like, do you feel the same way that you're posting your kids on there and letting like all these random people on Instagram?
I never post where I live. I mean, I post where I live, but not, specific. My kids are not on Instagram yet, so I don't have that issue. My oldest is 13, but haven't given her Instagram yet.
She's talking pictures, so.
Yeah.
What is that?
She's talking about family pictures. She's got pictures of Ava, our kid, just pictures in general.
No, because I don't feel like people are going to go hunt you down or go find your daughter. I mean, in general, you can have people follow you that are like, if you are using hashtags and trying to find people that are your avatar, they're probably parents, right? For the most part, right? If there's people that you think are creepy that are following you, just block them. I mean, we've been public, and Dave's with the state police, so he's been public for years on Facebook and now on Instagram. We're public figures on it because it's the only way to grow our business. If you keep it just to your family and friends, you're only going to get so far unless you plan on building your business face-to-face stuff and locally. You can only get so far with that. Really, we would have found people in the UK or any of that if we were not public. So that's got to be something that you feel comfortable doing. But all successful coaches are public, yes. So if you don't feel comfortable posting your child, then I would just strictly make it more fitness and, you stuff. Don't post your daughter on there. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions?
I might just add something for your Instagram. Did you guys do the Coach Basics with Kristen and Dave? I didn't quite make it all the way through, but one of the things that I did see was Shalene's Instagram training, and she suggested having separate accounts. So that might be a way that you could have a page for your friends and family, but then have a separate page that you could make more public, and then you wouldn't have to share her picture or their pictures on there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's what I was trying to figure out, is if people had like two, that they did one.
Yeah, I don't even have one, but I just heard that, so I thought I would share.
Yeah, and I actually just listened to a call. I can't remember what coach this was. It was a YouTube or something, and she said that she felt the same way. She was very uncomfortable on Facebook sharing anything to anybody other than her friends and family. But so she started to use Instagram, and that's where she felt the most comfortable because, yeah, she could do and share her pictures of her family trips and her kids on Facebook, but she used Instagram strictly for business. And she grew her business like 6 figures just on Instagram, so it can be done, and you can make it what you want, so.
I can see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I would do a separate account that you're using for your business, because there are business accounts and then private accounts on Instagram too.
Okay.
So I would make your business one, the public one under business for Instagram. Anything else?
Anyone else? No?
Hold on, I want to take an Instagram story.
Oh, yeah. We need an Instagram story pic.
Okay. Hold on, I have to get the gallery. Let me get the gallery view. That's Sarah Reed Bailey. I didn't even know you were on this call.
I know. Isn't she awesome?
Adopted her. She's so quiet.
She's going to be in Cancun with us. Woo, woo.
Woo! Awesome. I can't wait. All right, everybody smile.
Cheese.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. All right. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right, guys. Deb, have a safe trip. All right, girl?
Thank you.
Wait to hear all about
I'm
it.
excited. Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. Good job, Chris.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.